We don't need Mike Trout to be an MVP, we just need Mike Trout to get on the field. That's the brutally honest quote from Angels owner Arte Moreno, and it perfectly captures the team's desperation.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone out here in Orange County.
The 2024 season was widely described as a funeral procession for Trout's Angels.
Michael Trout,
with their last place AL West finish casting a shadow over everything. Moreno's warning is clear. Even his $426 million investment means nothing if Trout can't play. In this video, we'll examine 3 angles: the return on investment for Trout's record contract, the medical outlook for his knee, and the Angels' shift toward a new rebuild strategy. It all starts with the contract that was supposed to change everything. When the Angels handed Mike Trout a 12-year, $426.5 million contract extension before the 2019 season, it wasn't just a headline, it was a statement. At the time, it was the largest deal in professional sports history. The message was clear: Trout would be the cornerstone of their franchise, the centerpiece of a championship window that could stretch over a decade. This wasn't just about rewarding past greatness, it was about securing the future, ensuring that the most electrifying talent in baseball would wear an Angels uniform for life. But the reality has been far less inspiring. Instead of anchoring the lineup, Trout's name has spent more time on the IL than in the lineup. Since 2021, the numbers are staggering. Out of 648 regular season games, Trout has played in just 266. That means he's missed roughly 6 out of every 10 games, almost 4 in 10 each season, gone for a player earning over $35 million a year. Imagine any other job where the highest paid employee is absent that often. It would be a disaster for any business. This is the financial nightmare the Angels are living through. They're paying for a 3-time MVP, a player whose mere presence changes the way opponents pitch, who should be the engine of their offense. Instead, his absence leaves a gaping hole in the lineup, one that no replacement has come close to filling. The contract was supposed to guarantee stability and power, but it's done the opposite. So much of the team's payroll is tied up in Trout that every missed game hurts twice, once on the field and again in the front office, where it limits their ability to sign other impact players. The story of Mike Trout's career is now split in 2. There's the era before the contract, when he was nearly indestructible, posting historic numbers and rarely missing a game. Then there's the era after, marked by constant setbacks and a growing sense of fragility. The Angels have watched their investment turn from a sure thing into a question mark, and the business side can't ignore the risk any longer. What makes this even more painful is that Trout's talent hasn't disappeared. When healthy, he still flashes the brilliance that made him a generational star. But the asset the Angels paid for, the player on the field, game after game, just isn't available. They're left paying for potential, not performance. And with every month that passes, the narrative shifts. Instead of debating where Trout ranks among the all-time greats, baseball is starting to wonder if he'll be remembered as one of the sport's biggest what-ifs, a legend whose prime was stolen by circumstance. But this isn't just a run of bad luck. The pattern of injuries tells a deeper story, one that's about far more than numbers on a stat sheet or dollars on a payroll. To understand how the Angels got here, you have to look at the anatomy of Trout's breakdown and the warning signs that have been there all along. Instead, consider what's actually happened to Trout's body over the past 8 seasons, a succession of strains, tears, and bone injuries that has eroded his durability. The timeline is stark. In 2017, Trout tore a ligament in his thumb and missed 47 days. 4 years later, a calf strain in 2021 wiped out the rest of his season, costing him 139 days. In 2022, he dealt with back inflammation that sidelined him for another 35 days. Then came 2023, when a broken Hammett's-Bane bone in his wrist forced him onto the injured list twice, totaling 89 days away. The most recent blow arrived in 2024, a torn meniscus in his left knee, followed by a bone bruise in the same joint. Each injury has chipped away at the reliability that once defined Trout's career. What's most alarming is how the knee issue in 2024 has changed the conversation entirely. After surgery to repair the meniscus, Trout began his rehab with optimism, telling reporters there was no structural damage and suggesting he'd be back in about 10 days. But optimism doesn't always match reality. ESPN analyst Stefania Bell warns that repeated trauma could lead to early degenerative changes in Trout's surgically repaired knee. Her analysis isn't just about missing a few more games. It's about the risk that his knee could be entering a state of chronic decline, a long-term, potentially career-altering condition. The fact that Trout suffered 2 separate injuries to the same knee in a single season only amplifies the concern. Medical experts see this as a sign that his joint may now be more vulnerable to ongoing problems, not just the occasional setback. The difference between a routine sports injury and degenerative changes is massive. A bruise or a tear can heal, but when doctors start talking about degeneration, they're signaling a process that doesn't simply reverse with time or rest. It's a warning that the knee structure may be changing in ways that can't be fixed with surgery or rehab alone. And for an athlete whose game depends on explosive movement, that's a devastating reality. Trout's own words and the team's public statements paint a hopeful picture, but the facts don't lie. The cycle of injury and attempted comebacks has become a defining part of his story. Each return is met with anticipation, but the setbacks keep coming, and each one seems to last a little longer. The narrative has shifted from when will he be back to can he ever be the same. This is the backdrop for the Angels' current crisis. Their franchise player, once the most reliable force in baseball, is now a symbol of uncertainty. The pattern of injuries has left the team and its fans wondering if they can ever count on Trout to anchor their future. And as the 2024 season grinds on, the reality is impossible to ignore. The Angels are facing a crossroads, forced to confront what it means to build around a superstar who may never be whole again. The Angels' 2024 campaign was defined by disappointment at every level. Their season ended with a 63-99 record, dead last in the AL West, and their pitching staff was a disaster, posting the worst ERA in the American League. The bullpen didn't just falter, it finished with the highest ERA in all of Major League Baseball. These results prompted Moreno's stark get-on-the-field remark, a public admission that the team's foundation had crumbled. He wasn't just venting frustration, he was signaling a major shift in how the franchise would move forward. Right after making that blunt statement, Moreno promised to increase the payroll for 2025. But this isn't about doubling down on the old strategy of building everything around Trout. The front office's focus has shifted to developing their young core. There's a new urgency around players like shortstop Zach Neto and catcher Logan O'Hoppe. This approach is a quiet admission that the team can't afford to pin its hopes on a superstar who can't stay on the field. Instead, they're building a roster that can compete whether Trout is healthy or not. This change in direction isn't just about planning for the future, it's about survival. The Angels have seen what happens when a team is built around a single player whose availability is never guaranteed. The new focus is on sustainability, with homegrown talent as the backbone. Moreno's payroll commitment may bring in veterans or fill key holes, but the days of constructing everything around Trout are over. The franchise is making it clear the future will not be held hostage by one player's health. But the crisis goes deeper than just Trout's time on the injured list. When he did play in 2024, the warning signs were everywhere. Trout hit just .179 in his 29 games, and metrics show his strikeout and chase rates climbed to career highs, signaling his swing was hampered by lingering knee trouble. He still managed to hit 9 home runs and drive in 18 runs, but the power couldn't mask the decline. His on-base percentage fell to .264, and his approach at the plate looked nothing like the disciplined, dangerous hitter he once was. These aren't just the numbers of a player in a slump, they're the signs of a superstar whose skills are eroding under the weight of repeated injuries. The Angels' reliance on Trout has become a liability. His diminished performance and constant absences have forced the team to rethink everything about how they build and compete. Moreno's frustration is now shaping a new philosophy, one that prioritizes a sustainable core over a single transcendent talent. The payroll increase is less about chasing one more run with Trout and more about building a roster that can finally move forward no matter what happens with their aging superstar. The numbers, the injuries, and the changing strategy all point to a franchise at a turning point. The question isn't just about Trout's legacy anymore. It's about whether the Angels can find a new path forward, even as the shadow of their once unstoppable star lingers over everything they do. With 5 years left on his deal, Trout's story has become a race against time. Fans in the front office are left with 3 big questions. Will the Angels ever see a return on their record contract? Can Trout's body hold up for even one more full season? And does this new rebuild have any real chance to succeed? Trout's 11 All-Star selections already put him among the game's greats. but the legacy he leaves will come down to what happens next. If you found this analysis valuable, hit like and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes sports business insights. For Arte Moreno and Trout alike, the window for redemption is rapidly closing. Will they beat the clock?